Happy New Year's, everyone. I'm State Senator Rhonda Fields, and I'm going to be fixing a very special dinner today. And I'm going to call this a Valentine dinner because it has to do with celebrating love. And when I think about love, I think about a very intense, passionate, emotional feeling that you have. It could be love for mankind. It could be love for your family. It could be love for children. It could be love for your parents. It could be whatever you love. I think one thing I like about love is that it should drive out hate. And that's what I love about the word love. Because you can't do them both at the same time. You can't love, you can't hate. But what love takes is forgiving. So let's get into the preparation of this meal. Basically what it is going to be a salmon that is stuffed with spinach, cream cheese, grated cheese, lemon, onion, red peppers, and some seasoning. And then also have my shrimp. So what I'm going to do is just show you, when I got this from the butcher, I went ahead, and I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to cut it down the center because we're going to lay it on top of each other. Okay? So I've cut it in the center. And like some people like to take the skin off of the bottom of their salmon, I'm going to keep this on because it keeps it from burning. But you can always not eat it and you can pull it off. It's very easy to pull off once it's been cooked. But on the top part of the salmon, I have already washed this salmon off, but it has no skin on it. So we're going to stuff it and then we're going to place it on top of here. But before we get started on this, remember, I always like to wear gloves when I'm dealing with fish. I'm going to go ahead and start with cooking the salmon. The shrimp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the shrimp off, the stove on. And what I have in the pan right now is about 2 tablespoons of butter. But before I get that started, I have it on very low because I don't want the butter to burn. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to season the shrimp, okay? And when I season the shrimp, I am not going to be measuring it, but I will put the measurements on the website when you get a chance to see the video. So I'm just going to sprinkle the shrimp. These are jumbo shrimp, but they were so big that I didn't want anybody to choke, so I used my shears and I just cut it in half. So this is Creole Seasoning. I'm going to put some Old Bay in there. And these have been already cleaned and there's no tails on them. Okay, so this is the Creole Seasoning. And whenever I'm working around seasoning, of course it's going to make me sneeze. So I'm going to add a little garlic powder. I always use powder instead of salt because, you know, salt is really not all that good for you. And then I'm also going to add a little onion powder to it. And I'm going to add a little pepper. Okay, just a little pepper. And I would say always taste your seasoning. So I'm just going to kind of make sure this is all seasoned up. And I'm waiting for my my butter to melt because I'm not going to cook this that long because remember it's going to go into the oven. We're going to bake it. So I don't want to overcook this shrimp. I don't know if you've ever had overcooked shrimp, but it's very dry and it's not very tasty. So my butter is still melting. And so while the butter is melting, I am going to go ahead and season my salmon. And I'm going to use the same ingredients. So I'm going to use my Creole seasoning. And I just sprinkle it on there. Just like that. Not a whole lot. I'm going to do the same with the... I tell you, it's almost like smelling pepper. And then a little garlic salt. Just a little. And a little onion salt. And it looks like it's time for me to put my shrimp in. Now remember, I am only going to cook this for about 2 minutes on each side. Okay? So these are jumbo shrimp, but I did cut them in half so that they wouldn't, I found one that wasn't cut in half, so that they don't become too large to digest. Okay. What I didn't tell you, I make sure that all of my shrimp is in my salmon is patted dry, because if you try to cook with wet or moist chicken or fish, your seasoning will not stick. So make sure you pat it dry. And that's how I do it. I just pat it dry like that. Now these have the tails on them. And I put them on the top just for decorations, okay? So we're going to do that later. So this is frozen spinach. Once again, when you have frozen spinach, this is 1 bag. I think I needed a bag and a half. But sometimes you got to use what you have. But I think when I add my shrimp and everything else, it's going to be just fine. And I squeeze out all the moisture in it, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add the cream cheese. This has been at room temperature. And the reason we keep it at room temperature is because it makes it easier to deal with. I'm also going to choose, get a half a cup of Parmesan cheese. Okay. So while our shrimp are cooking, I'm going to go ahead and add shallots. The reason I'm using shallots is because they're sweeter. They're not like your regular onion. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in so they can be sauteing with the shrimp. This is about a half of a small shallot. And then I'm going to add, I would say this is 1/4 of a bell pepper, red bell pepper. And I like it because it's going to add color. Okay, so we're going to let that saute. I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit. Okay, so frozen spinach, cream cheese. What I have here is Philadelphia. And then I have the Parmesan. So I'm going to mix it. And this is really a workout. Now while you're doing this, you've got to keep your eyes on your shrimp, because we don't want to overcook them. Because remember, they're going to go inside the salmon and they're going to cook some more. I hope you enjoyed this dinner with your loved ones, with your family or someone special. It's kind of something that you would get at a fine dining store. Restaurant is what I meant to say. That would take the time and the preparation. This is really a labor of love to put all of these ingredients together and to make sure that it's seasoned and it's well put together. I am going to add some lime juice to this, because remember, we're going to stack that on here. But I still have to put the shrimp in there. But I just put in my shallots and my, and so they're still cooking. And remember, what I did is I just put a little 2 tablespoons of butter. But what I'm going to do with this, I am going to almost boil it a little bit. So I'm going to turn up the heat just a little bit. And I'm going to add some chicken stock, that mixture. And see, the reason we need this on there because we need to have some flavor when we top the salmon. So I want us to have some juice, almost like a gravy. Okay, so we're going to let that boil a little bit. While it's boiling, I'm going to go ahead and put my lemon juice. This is like a cool little kitchen gadget. I've already picked out most of the seeds, but what this does, it keeps the seeds from draining through, but it's fresh. So I'm going to just squeeze this. See how the juice is coming through? So that's a half of a lemon. Pull these out, and then I'm going to cook the big ones, because remember, those are going to be the ones that we're going to garnish on top of the, I'm going to pull those out. But I think I am going to do a quick taste test on this. The oven is set at 350. So we're going to put this in and we're going to bake it for 350. If you want to know about goodness, you should try this recipe. And at this point, I am going to take my shrimp out. They look done. I think I might have more shrimp than, I love shrimp. I think I might have more shrimp than spinach. But it's all going to go in there, and it is what it is. Now my side dish is going to be potatoes. So while this is in the oven, I am going to be whipping up some mashed potatoes to go alongside this meal. But this looks good, and I think it might be just enough for I'm going to add some pepper. I know it's going to make me sneeze. Okay. So, and then what I'm going to do, I was going to put Pam on there, or some olive oil on there. But I think I'm going to use butter. So I have some butter, and I have a spoon. And this butter has been, this goes on top as well, but I think I'm going to put some, How's that look to you guys? And you know, it's soft, but it's still not spreading the way I want it to spread. It's going to add another touch of flavor. If you did not want to add butter, you can just use olive oil. Okay, I think that's enough. This is the fun part. This is the stuffing. Look at that. I think I'm going to have some left over. Making sure that every piece has some, and there's this one piece that doesn't have any on this tail end over here. Da 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 da! There you have it. There you have the stuffing with the shrimp and the cream cheese, the onions, bell peppers, and the shrimp. I'm going to put one in the middle. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it on top. It's falling out, y'all. And you might want to put toothpicks in there, but I didn't think about that. I think I made a little too much. What I'm going to do right now is I am going to sear it. And then I'm going to put it in the oven for 353 degrees for about 15-20 minutes. And you should do this with, even when you're cooking steak, you should sear because it locks in the flavor. And after you've locked in the flavor, then I'm going to bake it for 15 minutes. I think I'm going to add a little butter to it. As you can see, I like butter. I'm going to add a little butter to the olive oil. Just a little. It looks like the pan is getting hot. The trick is getting my stuffed salmon in this pan without falling apart. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use 2 of these and see if that'll help me get it in there good. Think that would work? I hope so. I'm talking to myself. As long as I don't talk back to myself, I think I'll be okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's in there. Okay. Woo! That was a scary part. So the learning moment for me there was I would make sure, if you're using wax paper, spray it with Pam to make it easier to lift up. And make sure that you have a strategy to get your stuffed salmon out of the prepping portion so that you can get it into the pan. But I think it looks pretty good. I'm going to let it sear probably for about 3 minutes, and then I'm going to put this whole pan in the oven. And it does not take long. Anyone that cooks fish knows that it doesn't take long to cook fish. And I'm just going to use one package, even though you saw me have 2 out there. And then I'm going to sprinkle it with a little parsley. While this is searing, I have my potatoes. I already boiled my potatoes. And so what I'm going to do while that's searing is I'm just going to put them in here. You know, there's different ways you can do this. Some people like to mash them, but if I can save some time, I'm going to save some time. So I'm going to just put these in here. They're already cooked. Of course, you know I'm going to add some Gouda cheese to it. I'm going to add some heavy cream to it. And then I'll add salt and pepper a little later. Because I have to keep my eye on my main prize. So let's see what's going on over here. I think it's ready to go in the oven. I think it's ready to go in the oven. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my spoon that I had, rinse it off, and maybe add some more moisture to it with all that butter. Once again, we're just trying to make sure that it's very flavorful. So I'm just going to add some of the drippings from that butter that we added and the olive oil. I don't think we needed that. And I'm going to add a little bit more of, I just don't want it to stick. I'm going to put it in the oven. And it's been preheated at 350, and I'm going to keep checking on it because it might be done. I'm thinking 15 minutes, but it might be done sooner than that.
I just can't wait to eat this meal. It looks absolutely exquisite. How did the aromas, the
forgot to put the lemon. There's some things I forgot to do.
You have shrimp here. You have the. I just want to. I wish this wasn't being filmed because I would be tasting with my hands. Just.
You can also put crab in there if you want. Be sneaky. But you know, arugula and spinach salad would have been really good with it. But this was a lot to do. So there is some arugula spinach if you want to put it on the side. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm now going to pull out the stuffed salmon that has cream cheese and shrimp and onions and red pepper in them.
I can't wait to eat this. And why did you cook it in the iron skillet?
Because the iron skillet lets me sear the bottom of the fish, and then I get to bake it.
Oh, wow. I never knew that.
Yeah, so even when you're cooking steak, it's always good to sear it and then bake it because it then keeps all the juice and it keeps it from drying out. I'm going to let this cool off a little bit before it starts to cook, and then we'll start to taste. We'll do the taste test.
Yeah, before I get to put it in my mouth.
Yes.
And eat it. I'm so excited. Okay, so I'm going to put just a little bit of arugula
Okay.
on the plates.
Did you find the arugula?
You know, that's one of my favorite movies. What's Love Got to Do with It?
You know, mine's is Lady Sings the Blues.
A whole lot of ladies been singing some blues, and fellas too. But we find love in lots of different things. You have a love of cooking, and every time you cook, we taste the love that you put into every dish.
I do. And these are still not as brown as I would like, but they're supposed to be.
I think we should use some of these lemons to make a lemon drop martini. I think that's what else is missing with the arugula. Maybe that would be what I'll add to this show is
I'm just going to burn it a little bit
side
more
beverage to accompany it.
so it can be warm. Did you put the juice on there?
I put the lemon juice on it. Did you want this Parmesan cheese on top?
Yes, please. And then we'll toss it up. Where are the rest of the girls?
See, all mothers just have just random stuff that you can just take right from your refrigerator and just make something. Something out of nothing. That's love, when you can make something out of nothing. You can turn lemons into lemonade or lemon drop martini. That's what I'm about to show you how to make.
Don't listen to her. And this, you never have tomatoes with arugula and spinach, but it's okay. It's okay, it's all right. We're gonna make it anyway. So at this point, before I close out, we'll talk about the next important aspect of February, Black History Month. I want us to take the food before we get into what does Black history mean to me and what does Black history mean to you. Because it's so very important that we understand our history and where we come from. As for me, I'm a daughter of the dust. And when I say I'm a daughter of the dust, that means that all of my ancestors didn't make it across the ocean or the pond, whatever you want to call it, and that's slave ship. Many people didn't make it. But my parents and my ancestors did. So after we have a taste, I want to close and I want us to think about the history and the contributions and the legacy of African Americans. Let's have a taste. Ready to taste our stuffed salmon. And I can tell you, this salmon took about 15 to 17 minutes to bake. It did not take long. It took about another 15 minutes for the prep. But remember, I used frozen spinach, and I just squeezed all the moisture out of it. I cut up my onions, my scalloped onions. I had the red bell pepper, and I had the cream cheese. And then I had the shrimp. And the shrimp, I sauteed the shrimp, and then I mixed it all up in the spinach. I bought the filet, I cut the filet in half, and then I stuffed it. And this is what it looks like.
It looks delicious. I
And so
can't
I
wait
made
to
some,
eat it.
of the side dishes are mashed potatoes
Yes.
with arugula salad with spinach. And we're gonna get ready to serve it up right now. And so it's been cooling down. You want to make sure that you cool it down because we want to make sure that it doesn't fall apart. Then I'm hoping that you'll find that this salmon is moist and it's delicious. And so I have some testers here. This is my family.
Yes.
So even though we're talking about Valentine's Day, I am in love with my family.
Oh, that's cute.
Okay? So I'm just going to give you guys a little piece. One. And you can get, you can really cut this different. It's already falling apart.
Fall off the bone.
And what you can do is you can go the other way. You can go this way too. I think I'm going to take a couple of it that way.
Oh.
I can't wait.
So who wants to be first? Okay. So here's the dish.
Thank you.
Just a little salad. It's too many potatoes. And then you want some salad to go with that? Get more. Let's serve everybody first. Okay. You want some next?
Yes. Okay.
So good.
Should we say a grace?
Somebody should, yeah.
Yes, God, thank you for this wonderful food. Your blessings with love.
Where's your plate?
Thank you for this wonderful.
Thank you so very much for joining me in my kitchen, especially as we celebrate two very important holidays. The first holiday, of course, is February, being the month of Black History, and the second important holiday is Valentine's Day, where we celebrate love. And when I think about Black History Month, I think about what Martin Luther King said. And he said that love is the only thing that can drive out hate. And I also think about what my pastor told me a long time ago. He said that darkness can never exist if light is present. If you ever go into a room and you turn on a light when the room is dark, what happens? The dark just goes away. So as we celebrate the month of love and the month of Martin Luther King and Black history, I want you to remember those words. I want you all to be the light of the world. Now, we all probably have favorite characters that we adore and admire as it relates to African American Black History Month. There's too many to mention, and there's many that we don't know. But I don't want us to forget the women that were a part of the movement. And the women that were a part of the movement, of course, was Scott King. She stood by her man till the very end. And then the other favorite person that I admire is Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman freed 700 slaves, and she brought them to Maryland. And she had this saying that she would say, if you hear the dogs barking, keep running. If you see the torches in the woods, keep going. If you hear someone shouting at you, keep going, keep going. She says you keep going until you have the taste of justice, freedom, and dignity.